Welcome to Best Friend Fight Club. This episode was recorded on July 30th, 2024. Let's get into our first episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Best Friend Fight Club. My name's Austin. I've got a best friend here. His name's Nick. Hey, Nick, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I think you're my best friend.
Yeah, I'd say so.
You've never told me. You've never said it.
I've never said that.
I was your best man, but you've never.
You were my best man at my wedding. Does that not count as a best friend?
I don't think so.
Really?
You've never come out.
You know, women sometimes say they have multiple best friends, but they never narrow it down to just like one.
Do you have another best friend you're not telling me about?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've never told me. I've never heard you tell anybody, like, yeah, my best friend Austin.
Oh, well, that's because we live in different states now. But yeah, my best friend is Austin.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
All right.
Now we've established that.
We've established that we're best friends.
Yep.
And we're sitting here talking in a microphone. So what are we here to do other than establish our friendship, our best friendship?
Yeah. So we're here to, foster a human connection with one another, but also to engage a community who appreciates authenticity as much as we do. Using this podcast as a medium for discussions of our struggles, living in the present, our contemplations of consumerism, the veil of ideology, but also some tips and tricks about how to not be a dick to your fellow man. That's a lot of stuff.
That is a lot of stuff, and that's a well-written...
When you clicked on this podcast, you thought you were just going to be talking about, I don't know, fighting or something.
Yeah, so now we've got two average-sounding guys who wrote a serious-sounding mission statement with a little zinger there at the end, and that's cool. I believe it to be true.
Yep.
Sounds like we mean it. But, man, I've got to tell you something.
Yeah, what do you got to tell me?
It's been a little while coming. And it's kind of weird since we've established our best friendship just now, but yeah, I'm going to fucking kick your ass, man.
Oh, man. Dude, I just came all the way down from Wisconsin to Tennessee to visit you, and now you're telling me you want to kick my ass?
Yeah. You didn't think I didn't see you? When I was at the splash pad playing with my children, you were there sitting with my wife. You remember? Oh, you're laughing nervously. You remember. You were having a nice discussion. Smiling, just genuinely engaging with each other. And she hasn't talked to me like that in years. And now, I've got to kick your ass for it.
Damn.
Yeah.
But seriously, though, why are we talking about kicking ass on this podcast? Because that's actually going to be a segment for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be called I'm Going to Kick Your Ass. So let's talk about
that.
What's brought you to this place in your life, Austin?
Well, I really do want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
There was no conversational infidelity going on.
Yeah.
Nick's been very appropriate.
Thank you.
So, been great with my kids. It's been an awesome week. But I do want to kick your ass still. And I think I can't describe it correctly. What do I mean? What am I trying to do? And kicking your ass. Like, I want to do it, but how am I going to do it?
So Austin wants to get into the very niche world of full contact armored combat. Mm-hmm. Which is basically, if you can imagine MMA fighting, but wearing suits of armors, and hitting each other with real steel swords and axes and shit like that.
They're just not sharpened.
But it's like, kind of like getting hit by a crowbar or something. And then you get to throw each other to the ground. You get to kick each other and punch each other and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's great. It's everything.
You're saying that I want to get into it, but you're well established into the sport.
Yeah.
We won't get into your accolades. You're too, you don't want to.
Too humble.
Too humble. There's the word. Nick is well established in the sport. I am a complacent IT guy from Southwest Missouri. Or not complacent. Stagnant. I'm idle.
Yeah. Those are good choice words.
I'm not a round man, but I'm I'm not a slim man. And I want to enter this world and come and get you.
Okay.
And kick your ass right there.
Yeah.
If you could bend over, that'd make it easier on me, but you're not going to do that.
No.
And yeah, so that's really what I want to do. I want to enter this realm, learn all the disciplines, everything it requires, and ultimately, I want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good goal. It's a good goal everyone should have. Everyone should want to kick somebody's ass. When you walk down the street, you should be eyeing up people thinking, I could probably kick that guy's ass.
I think I can kick people's ass.
I feel like most average men walk around thinking, oh, I can kick it. When I get into a fight, I see red.
Right. Look, I see red.
It's go time.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but how many average males actually do find themselves in fights?
They don't. They really don't.
A lot of them don't.
So, with that being said, we'll keep it short and sweet. We met each other in Memphis. It was awesome. We played Pokemon together. You were fighting. It was great. We moved away. I took an IT job and got really sad. I missed my best friend. I wondered if he was my best friend because he never told me that I was his best friend. I ate a lot of food trying to cope.
Yeah.
So I coped. And, things just got rough in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah, as they often do.
And so I uprooted my family, and I moved him back to Memphis in hopes that who I thought my best friend would do the same. I came back to the military. Things were rough. And here we are. You came back to Memphis.
To visit.
We're fighting.
To fight.
To fight. No, not serious. That's kind of what happened, but not really. I separated from the military, went back home. There was a lot of miscommunication on what was going to happen. And I just ended up having to buy a house further away than I thought I would. It was a pretty complacent life. I had checked all these boxes, right? Military experience, got that college degree and was like, cool, I've checked these boxes. I'm ready for my reward. I'm ready for that middle class life.
Yeah.
And my expectations were not being met. In a lot of ways, I was failing in some regards. I felt like I wasn't providing for my family, specifically in the healthcare, and a lot of failures in that regard, or we'll just call them failures. It really was. There was more I could have done. And thankfully, I had the opportunity to come back here to Memphis and be in a situation where I could provide for my family, but also be around my family, make sure that everything was taken care of. The ideal middle-class life. And the first thing I did when I spoke with you was like, hey, Nick, I think I want to get into armored fighting. And you're like, what, really?
Mm-hmm. I was like, no way. This is Whiskey Austin talking.
Whiskey Austin. I have a persona called Whiskey Austin. And I'm like, well, I did have some whiskey, but I don't think this is fully Whiskey Austin talking, and I want to do it. So for the past 6 months since this has happened, I've been doing my part, trying to lose some of this roundedness, and here we are. I'm glad I did. I don't know how I could have done this like 20 pounds heavier. This week's already sucked enough.
It's been pretty rough already.
Yeah. So I'm glad I've done the work, and so I'm going to continue to go that way. So, but tell me why you got into fighting, man.
Yes, I mean I've always liked fighting, and I got into armored fighting about 8 years ago now, and I really think when it comes to fighting, it all stems back to when I was a college philosophy student, learning about Friedrich Nietzsche and his theory of the Übermensch, which is often translated to the Superman, which is this idea that we should be trying to transcend our limitations and the conventional values that ordinary humans have, what society tells us we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be striving for that white picket fence, for complacency, for being safe. And fighting is the complete opposite of that. It's the opposite of safety, right? So to get to that point, we have to constantly strive to surpass ourselves. We have to set goals for ourselves that we intend on overcoming. No one's there to watch you, right? When you're busting your ass doing workouts every day, only you're there. But when you fail, and when you're not making improvements. So you have to overcome those weaknesses, those fears, and just embrace the affirmation of life. That means the struggles, the joys, every aspect of it. So one of the ways that we embrace the aspect of life when we fight is, well, when you're fighting, you're detached from possessions, right? There's so much of our life is about what we own is who we are, but what you own eventually owns you. Mm-hmm. And that's the opposite of fighting. When you get into fighting, you're going back to that primal state, the state of nature, a conflict for survival. It's the moment we become the most true to ourselves, and we learn about the kind of person we are. Are we the kind of person that's going to stay down? Or are we going to pick ourselves back up and finish around, whether we're gasping for air or whether we're bleeding, right? You don't give up in a fight. You have that mutual respect with the person you're fighting with, and you're just going to fucking push through it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about fighting. So, yes, I've been doing armored combat for 8 years, but now I've recently branched out and I'm working on judo and I'm working on Muay Thai, because I think in the end, it's being the most well-rounded fighter you can. You can't get complacent. So just because you get good at one discipline doesn't mean it's time to stop. There's so much more that you can learn from all these other disciplines of fighting.
Right.
So we're going to use this chance, this podcast. This is one segment, but we'll use this so that we can check in with each other and kind of see a little bit how our journey is going. So what are some initial, maybe we'll go long-term. Just give us a long-term goal. What are you trying to do?
Right. So my short-term goals will be, you've spent the week with me teaching HIIT workouts, PEL techniques, everything, different disciplines of fighting, and swapping that out with a more aerobic, slow-paced exercises I've been doing and working my way. That's the short-term goal, is to incorporate that. And the long-term goal is to get into a rink with you in a sanctioned event and give you a hell of a fight, whether it be in the finals, first round. Mm-hmm. I just want to give you a fight, obviously maybe give you a return on investment for the time that you spent with me.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, I did that. I made him who he is.
Exactly. Hey, no coach can ask for anything better than to maybe someday be beaten by their students. So that would be a good day for me. I love the idea of like people I train someday that maybe we all show up at the same event and we take first, second, and third. And, that's kind of like the dream. But
yeah.
So for me, I just want to make sure that I'm continuing to advance in my other disciplines of fighting, in judo, in Muay Thai, and that for armored combat. So recently at the World Championships, I took first in one category, but took second in another category that I really have been wanting first. Like when I got into this sport, it was the dream of taking first in the category of fighting with a sword and a shield. And I took second in the world. And man, that's just like, you're so close. Mm-hmm. You're so close to achieving something that when I got into this 8 years ago and I was watching fighters from Poland and Russia do this, and I was like, I want to be like them. Mm-hmm. And I was a fucking idiot getting my ass kicked at that time.
Right.
Hoping to do that.
Well, you call me a fucking idiot? After I refrained from saying it. But yeah. It sounded like you were a fraternity boy getting off some philosophical teaching just now.
Anyone who takes philosophy in class gets off to Friedrich Nietzsche, so that's okay. He's got a nice mustache.
All right. Well, as long as you take the blow, I guess I'll be the fucking idiot in this scenario. But anyway, you were getting your ass kicked.
Yeah, so it was, and you saw the people you wanted to emulate. I got very close to achieving that big goal, mm-hmm. and missed it. To get that close, to travel to another country and get that close and miss it. I want to get there again, but this time I want to make sure I'm taking that world championship. Right.
You did great. You don't want to become complacent.
Don't want to become complacent. Right. That's exactly it. Because the second you become complacent,
yeah, you find yourself working an IT job in Southwest Missouri.
But as we said, we're not just here to talk about fighting and kicking each other's ass. This is a podcast for so much more.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get into our next segment.
Well, Nick, as you mentioned before, it's time to move on to what's going to be a reoccurring segment for us, affectionately called Middle Class, Middle Ass.
It's great. Both of us are middle class, I think.
That's what the segment's going to be.
know.
I mean, this is maybe going to be a self-discovery, you know?
Yeah.
But the idea of the segment is basically going to be our opportunity to gripe, bitch, and moan about the shitty cards in which we've been dealt on, pissed on by the generations that have come before us. That's right. We're going to take some time to passionately complain, disdain about the first world problems in which we experience, while also passing off our personal faults as mommy and daddy issues. Because if it's not our grandparents' fault or our parents' fault, then who the fuck took a shit in the Great American Melting Pot? Was it you?
I mean, I took a shit earlier, but not in the American.
I didn't shit in the pool. Did you?
Not in the melting pot.
Not in the melting pot?
No.
Who did it?
I don't know. Your daughter keeps saying your other daughter took a shit somewhere, so I don't know.
Yeah, she does do that. Yeah.
She wasn't alive then to do that.
No, it wasn't her.
It wasn't her.
I mean, they're the real victims. But anyway, for the sake of not drawing up all our content on the first episode, man, I think it's important for us to not dive too deep in our personal experiences. We got to milk this, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we should just provide like a definition, some pop culture references, and really just our interpretation of the term middle class.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. We should probably know kind of what we're talking about.
Right, kind of about.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Do a little Google search there.
That's what I did.
Okay, great. Yeah. Give us a nice definition there, sir.
Right, let's do it. The Oxford Dictionary states that the term middle class was first attested in James Bradshaw's 1745 scheme to prevent running Irish wolves to France.
That does not sound like what I imagine when I think of middle class.
Right.
Wow.
That's the first time it came up, and I was too lazy to copy and paste what they actually defined. But basically, the way they brought it up was you had those who owned land and those who worked the land.
Yeah.
And then those who were just in debt.
Yeah.
And then so those who worked the land were the middle class. That's pretty much it. Like if you were in debt, you were in poverty.
Okay.
That's where it came up.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there we go.
Well, look, hey, a lot of us are still in debt, so that's still applicable.
Yeah, so we're in debt. So that by that old definition, we're not middle class. But you know, we can go on that later. But I'm an American. Are you an American?
I am an American.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, we're Americans. Yep. So let's talk about how it first came into American culture. So in 1939, at the World's Fair in New York, the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company, they commissioned a 1-hour film telling a story of a family called the Middletons. It was an Indiana family that visits the fair and is won over by the Westinghouse exhibits a futuristic display of middle-class lifestyle and leisure.
Sounds just pleasant, man.
Right. And
good old Indiana family.
Right. Indiana. I'm not from Indiana, but I guess that's...
I don't know. Isn't that like where the movie you'll shoot your eye out, or A Christmas Story it's called?
Really?
Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're Indiana, and they're pretty middle class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Indiana.
Go.
We got to visit to truly understand the origin of the middle class. But anyway, that's when we started throwing the term around American, and it's evolved. Right? There's been a lot of synonymous terms like, the 9 to 5, the white picket fences, the American dream. You name it. There's tons of synonymous terms, a lot of related terms. But it's made it into our culture. I mean, you can't really go anywhere without it just being blasted in your face. It's in Dolly Parton's 1980 American anthem, 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. We see in Alabama's 1985 tribute to blue collar workers, 40-hour work week. Yep. And we even hear it mocked in Pete Seeger's 1963, Little Boxes. And I'm just going to play a quick clip.
Yeah.
And you'll just kind of get the essence of what he's trying to do.
Okay.
And the people in the houses all went to the university, and they all got put in boxes, little boxes, all the same.
Fuck, man, I wish we could afford to play that entire song. I think it does a great job of really showing, the suburban sprawl that really led to the middle class. Are you aware of the suburban sprawl?
Yeah, of course.
So we didn't say that word earlier, but when we think of middle class, I think the suburbs become pretty synonymous, right, with the term middle class. We think of the white picket fence. We think of lots of little boxes,
right?
Very similar homes and nice rows and columns and fences and nice manicured lawns, I suppose. Right. Maybe 2 cars and wife and a husband and a couple kids and
a couple kids.
Yeah,
2 to 3 kids, right? I think is the idea, and
that's pretty much what we expected, and that's what we saw happening. So in the 1950s, the suburban sprawl took place as the suburbs were popping up, and a lot of families, mostly all white families, this also ties into white flight. They fled from the cities to get away from minorities. So it was a pretty racist time. So they went to the suburbs, and that's where we get this image of the American dream, striving for those couple kids, that house, and living in the suburbs. So this is what we call the ideology of the middle class. And ideology is considered to be a set of beliefs, values, or ideas that shape how we understand our world and our place in it. And the thing about an ideology is it's not like propaganda in the sense where we're directly trying to say something that's not true. An ideology at its is a fundamental level where it's an illusion, but it's an illusion that we're okay with. Unconsciously, we accept this fantasy because we like this fantasy in a way, or else we wouldn't go with it, right?
Right.
That's the difference between ideology and propaganda and misinformation. Is an ideology becomes so ingrained into society that we start identifying as that's what it means to be American.
Right.
Is that. When we think about American values, and maybe this is similar to other countries that have a middle class, we'd love to hear from what that's like in those countries. But in America, this idea of the American dream is tied to the ideology of being middle class. We think that's what everyone should be striving for, even if it's pretty much impossible to do it because of other barriers that are preventing this from happening. That idea of social mobility, that you could work your way up to becoming middle class and that everyone should be striving for middle class, that's the ideology.
Right. And so I was striving for it. And it wasn't till I was told or made aware of, or maybe just self-aware, that I could not achieve what I thought was my middle class lifestyle, my American dream, or my average, right? My last resort. When I tried to move back home, I couldn't afford to purchase a house in the suburbs where I grew up. Mm-hmm. It was unobtainable. It was just had blown up.
And so many people are facing the same thing, right? Because they can't buy a house anymore. And the house is so synonymous with the idea of being middle class. It's right there in Pete Seeger's song, right? In little boxes. How can you be a middle class man if you can't afford your little box for your family?
On the hillside. Hey guys, did you know that Nick has a degree in audio engineering, and yet I'm the one editing this episode? I bet Nick would be able to find a way to edit out the crying toddler in the background with a seamless transition into the conversation. However, opted for a less discreet approach. Well, there you have it. An awkward editing moment. Thanks to Nick. Now back to the show. And, just having a 2-hour commute in the workday, there and back. And that's how I had to obtain it and sacrifice that time. Mm-hmm. The core value, or the thing that you always have, whether you're middle class, lower class, or even upper class, is that family time, and I had to sacrifice time. And that was a hard pill to swallow, knowing that I could just take a job at a gas station in my local town and have that time back.
Yep.
And be in the sweet spot, or get out of the sweet spot, where I was making so much that I couldn't afford government subsidies and grants, for health insurance. But if I took a job in the gas station, I would now be in that poverty line, but would have that time back with my family.
Yeah.
And so, I was very bitter about that, watching these upper class individuals, or those who didn't have to leave the area and come back and just have that established that time. So, yeah.
So why do you think this ideology continues to persist?
I
don't know. You haven't.
why?
Yeah, I don't know. You have
Like first thing, it's like just to drive consumerism, right?
Yeah.
For consumerism to exist,
Yeah.
this ideology has to be present. We have to have some kind of like a state of content that we have to drive for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like Karl Marx, he conceptualized ideology as a form of a false consciousness. And he says it's because the dominant ideas in society, they have to reflect the interests of the ruling classes, those in control of society's resources and means of production. So what's better for the means and productions than consumerism? It is good for us to strive for a large suburban box with plenty of space to fill with shit we just don't need, right?
Right.
So we have to make more money so that we can give our money to corporations who just don't give a fuck about us. So let's buy a big old box, fill it with a bunch of other boxes,
Yeah. Compartmentalize
Yeah.
our lives.
There we go.
So, okay.
That was a good talk about being middle class.
Yeah.
I don't think we left this on a high note, but I think we have a better idea about who the middle class is. And you said it earlier, the middle class sweet spot.
The sweet spot, right?
Making just enough not to receive government assistance, but not enough to afford the cost of health care.
Right. Are you in that position?
I am pretty much in that position, yes. So, like,
Yes.
I wish that my wife didn't have to, work full time and, have our daughter go to daycare and us both drive, opposite directions far away to go to work. But she must work to afford that health care for our child, because I cannot afford to pay for health care for my wife and child on my own, and I am a school teacher, but I cannot afford on my salary alone to be able to rent a house and pay for health care and get back. So we must have two incomes just to be able to get there. And I'm right there. We had a situation where we didn't have health care for a moment for our baby, and we had looked into a program from the state. We live in Wisconsin, a program called Badger Care to help, mothers who can't afford health care for their babies. And I made just too much money, where us collectively made just a little bit too much, that we are considered ineligible to get, reduced health care or anything like that. So,
Exactly.
And I'm sure a lot of Americans are facing the exact same problem, paying $800 to $1,000 a month for a healthcare premium.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, if you're paying for daycare as well, there's another $12,000 to $15,000 a year right there.
Right. And I mean, that's going to come down to 25% of your income before your housing, before your food.
Right.
So I was in that sweet spot and I didn't like it. I'm now an outlier. I haven't done anything crazy. I haven't become the business owner. Didn't take up a job in the gas station. Fortunately, I was able to return back to the military. And now that solves a lot of problems for me temporarily, where the healthcare is provided for me. So I'm an outlier to it, though I can relate.
I would say most people, the military does a great job of providing a world where that dream's kind of still there.
Right.
The American dream, the middle class dream is still there because of these basic necessities like healthcare, and these things they're there. It's a sure thing.
I mean, you've kind of had the opportunity this week to kind of live the day in life in the military, not the job, but just like the home life.
The life on the military base.
Right. And in a lot of ways, does it emulate that traditional notion, or that?
I absolutely think it does. I think there's nowhere I have seen the ideology of the middle class braced more fully than on a military base.
Exactly. 2 cars in the driveway.
Yep.
Sidewalks. I mean, people out and about, actively, kids in today's world, out playing outside still freely, and just our basic necessities being met. There's certain civic things. There's childcare. Everything's here, So
yeah,
I'm an outlier to it, but it's an interesting perspective because I can still am an embodiment of it in modern day of that traditional ideology.
Absolutely.
Well, sweet man. I think that's where we land within the middle class. Maybe I'm middle class, and right now, unfortunately, you're experiencing middle ass.
I'm experiencing middle ass, absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, it's time to move on. So our next segment is going to be called Don't Be a Dick. So the act of acting poorly in social context, it's been called many names. Some might say asshole. Some say bitch. Jerk when you're at Bible camp. Jerk. Prick when you're feeling like a little posh. But on this show, we say dick. Quite often, we have to crawl out from our caves and intermingle with other humans, and that means you're bound to cross a dick now and then. And Austin knows a lot about that because he's in the Navy. So why do people act like dicks? Well, psychology tells us that those who behave poorly may lack empathy for others, which can stem from chronic emotional neglect in their past. This chronic emotional neglect can make a person engage in othering, a form of dehumanization, or from my experience recently, being one of the numerous individuals who managed to act like a dick at the thrift store used DVD section. Yes, that is a thing.
What year is this?
What year is it? 2024. Yes, so some of us still buy used DVDs. Okay? We do. And this is where you experience a lot of dicks. So why do I buy used DVDs at a thrift store in 2024? I have a personal hatred of subscription economies. I think they reflect capitalist dynamics where the control and access to resources are centralized and individual ownership is minimized. We progressed to a point of late-stage capitalism, Austin, where our experiences and services are commodified, surpassing that of products and goods. We buy these streaming services. We might feel like we have the freedom of experience, and it's increased because we can access anything we want. Any possible show is at our fingertips. But in actuality, we have nothing. The prices can increase at a moment's notice, and we end up with nothing. So fuck you, Netflix. Fuck you, Disney. I had to quit your service. You're too expensive. So I buy DVDs at the thrift store for 50 cents to $1. That's what I spend for each DVD. I go there and I buy Disney movies for my daughter, for my 15-month-old daughter. That's what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do because Disney wants to charge me $22 a month to watch Disney. Okay? That's what they want to charge me. And that's fucking crazy because I can buy 40, or so DVDs at 50 cents. From one of my local thrift stores.
Dude, now Disney's going to send its agents to all of these thrift stores, and they're going to buy out all the DVDs.
All the DVDs. They probably fucking will. It'll be like...
On it. You need to get on it. You need to finish your collection.
Man, yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that's what I'm doing. So I'm there at the thrift store buying DVDs for my daughter. And here's one of my dick interactions here. I call it the thrift store DVD flipper. So I go there, and there's like a corner where all the DVDs are. It's kind of nestled in corner, and you really can only have one person standing there at a time, too, without grinding up on someone's ass. So you have to you wait your turn. You know, someone's looking at the DVDs in the DVD corner. It's got quite a bit. I mean, there's probably a couple hundred that fit in these big corner bookshelves. Okay. So this guy's looking at them, and I'm patiently waiting my turn. But this dude is taking them off the shelf one at a time with his phone out, and I see him looking up the price on eBay. Every single DVD. He's just going through the DVDs, one after another, pricing them out. This is the bottom of the barrel vulture of capitalism right here. This dude turns cheap, enjoyable experiences, like taking a little family outing to the thrift store, which, bear in mind here, is the only store that middle class or middle ass like me can afford to go to. He's turned that into an empty carcass devoid of any nutritional substance. When that shelf is done, man, there's not going to be anything there worth more than $1.
Yeah.
Because this dude's fucking flipping them for what? To make $3, $4 on a DVD? Mm-hmm. And he's going to sell them on eBay, and he's going to pay the fucking shipping cost and the eBay fees associated with that so he can make these little tiny little increments of money.
And deprive you of the satisfying experience of finding your daughter's favorite movie on double platinum edition DVD.
Exactly. Now, you may be thinking, could I just buy these DVDs myself on eBay?
You could.
I probably could. Yes, I've looked at them. But you know what? Part of it is, one, I'm broke.
Right.
I'm a middle ass. But there's also that little glint of excitement when you treasure hunt at a thrift store. It's taking the family there. It's us finding that little bit of treasure. It's that unpredictability of the hunt that satisfies our craving for blood. Okay? Because when we're sitting here with our white-collar jobs and we're not out there hunting anymore, okay?
Right.
I need some unpredictability.
Yeah.
If I can't go out there and satiate myself by sinking my teeth into the flesh of something alive, I need to replace that with used DVDs at the thrift store.
Really?
Yes.
Really? You're this passionate. So what did you do the last time you came across the DVD flipper? Were you a big man?
I was not.
You were not.
I was not, because fucking social conventions, it's not appropriate to just, like, go off on this guy.
Yeah.
He has the right, and that's what sucks, right? That's what sucks in our system, is he has the right to sit there and go through every single DVD and buy them all because he's going to sell them on eBay.
Because he got there first.
Because he got there first.
Yeah.
Even if he has no intention. He doesn't have to give a shit about anybody else.
Okay.
Because that's what we love in the world we live in today. So then I get a second dick I come
There's
across.
2 dicks.
2 dicks.
A double dick
Double dick.
at the DVD corner.
Double dick DVD corner. So I go back on another day now.
Yeah.
And this is the DVD thrift store switcher. This guy.
Can I guess what this is? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do they just take the disc out of a case and put it in another just to cause mass confusion? That's what I
That
think
would be
when I hear
really
the word
fucking.
switcher.
That would also be really fucked
No,
up.
that's not
but
it.
no.
That's not what you mean by switcher.
No, but I actually have found several cases with random discs thrown in there. So someone out there is just swapping discs, being a fucking asshole.
Okay, so that's another one. But you
no.
haven't experienced, so you can't humanize.
I've never
this person.
seen that person yet. I don't know who they are, but I know they're out there.
Right,
I know
so-
they're there.
so
That
unless
person
so when you experience it, they become
got
a
some
dick.
repressed sexual issues.
But when you know they're out there, they're an asshole, right? So when
Yeah.
you see them, when you experience it, when you witness it, that's when they become a dick.
No, they've always been a dick, man.
You just have okay.
I don't have to be present for them to be a dick.
Right.
To know that they're a dick.
leave it. Okay.
Dicks
but
can exist in the world without us being consciously aware of them. It's like when you go to sleep, do you stop existing while you're asleep?
No.
No, you continue to exist, right? To exist, existence precedes essence, right? So we can exist without our essence determining what we are. Mm-hmm. So he can exist as a dick
Well after.
well after and well before anyone is there to determine he's a dick. But anyways,
Tell me about the
getting
thrift
derailed
store
here into a world of
DVD switcher.
existentialism. So the second guy, he's in the corner rearranging each DVD so that it faces backwards, making it that nobody can read the titles of the DVDs. He's taking one up the shelf. Oh, sometimes he takes a little stack, maybe like 5.
Yeah.
Pat looks through them like he's sorting through some cards,
And
and
the
then he
bulk
puts
bin,
that stack of 5 backwards as a way to keep track of like what he's looked at.
That's so much effort.
But then no one else can see because now we're facing the black side of hundreds of DVDs. And right, he could just scan over the titles like a normal human.
Or just like slightly pull one out every now and then.
Yeah.
Just make it unpleasant to look at, but still viewable.
No, just turn them all backwards. This dude, just complete lack of empathy, self-centered, oblivious to the needs and feelings of other people.
Yeah.
Who the fuck does that?
Yeah.
The whole shelf, when he was done, and I'm waiting and I'm watching him do this. I'm just like giving him fucking dirty looks. He pauses every now, looks back at me, and I'm just waiting for my turn. And he turns every single DVD backwards. So now you got like 200 DVDs backwards, the black facing out, and I have to take them off now in stacks like a fucking dweeb.
Yeah.
Looking at them the same way this asshole did, and then I'm turning them back around to correct everything he did.
Were you a big man in this instance?
I guess I kind of was because I fixed it all.
Yeah.
In a way, and he watched me do it, and he paused and just stood there watching me turning them all back around.
What a fucking dick.
So I don't know what his deal was, but he literally paused and just sat there for like a minute staring at me, looking at DVDs, turning them all back around and correcting all of his fucking handiwork.
So behind one curtain, we've got the DVD flipping dick.
Yep.
And the other curtain, we've got the DVD switching dick.
Yeah. All of this is happening at the same thrift store.
Right.
And you know what the problem is? There's nothing to enforce accountability for these types of individuals.
No, this is just a booth at the thrift store, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's just it's become socially acceptable, for him to do this.
I think the worst one, right? The first one, it's like he has a motivation. He's hustling.
That's true, right? At least we can rationalize what he's doing. Like he's trying to he's also trying to work his way out of middle class into middle class.
To a degree, we kind of did it. We were at a thrift store here in Tennessee. We saw some unsealed original Pokemon themed decks.
Yeah.
We looked it up and we were like, nah, man, it's not worth the effort investment to purchase,
Yep.
To a degree, but we were going to do it. Had it,
Yeah.
there was a certain profit margin.
Big enough profit margin, maybe.
Right. So, I mean,
Succumb to the temptation.
We weren't holding anyone up, but maybe had it been a deal, we would have bought them out. Would have missed out the experience for a little kiddo to come by and get their hands on an original. We would have done that.
Possibly, so yeah.
To a degree, I can relate to this guy. Dick number 2, man. I fucking hate this guy.
A fucking animal. There's no motivation here.
Right, he just watched you. He's just so lazy, but he's not even lazy. Like, that's so much effort. Just more effort. Fuck that guy.
It's a sociopath.
Really?
He must be, man. Like, who the hell does that?
Did he look like he lacked intelligence? Just no comprehension of his actions?
Thinking, I was like, maybe there's, maybe he's neurodivergent or something. Right. And no, man, this guy knew what he was doing.
Did he purchase anything?
He purchased a couple.
What'd he get?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No, it wasn't memorable enough, the title. These were just random shit, man.
Random shit. Nothing memorable. Nothing to...
No, I mean...
to better understand.
I wish I would have really focused on what he bought so I could understand the psychology of this individual. Maybe the movies are the clue.
It would have been. I mean, maybe they were deep philosophical movies, like what, The Truman Show.
Yeah, right? Truman Show is wonderful, man. I love that movie.
The, Eternal
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Would have been that? You would have noticed, wouldn't you?
I would have noticed that. I would have been, oh, there it is.
What do you...
Because I grab those too, and when I see those types of movies at the thrift store, I get them from my philosophy movie collection.
Right, so would you... what if they were... So they obviously weren't movies that you...
Yeah.
So these were just basic generic movies, like Shrek 2, probably?
Probably a copy of Shrek 2. Maybe Along Came Polly, something like that,
Polly. What? Chuck and Larry? Is that another one?
Chuck and Larry? I don't know. I don't know that movie.
Just some basic, early 2000s,
some early 2000s rom-coms or comedies.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Think so?
There's always a lot of copies of Step Brothers, and that's a goodie, but,
Yeah, there's lots of copies of it. Everyone's got it. Talladega Nights, maybe?
Yeah, Talladega Nights. I see that one there.
Yeah.
There quite a bit.
You don't know, though. No. Well, man, I'm sorry you have to come across. There are many wonders in this world. The Great Pyramids, crop circles, and Nick's C drive. Here's a friendly tip from an IT guy. Don't ignore low disk space warnings, because if you do, those unknown errors that your computer warns you about, well, they suddenly become known. In this case, the ending of what was a lovely conversation about Nick and I's thrift store experience will never be heard by the world. Just this out-of-place outro. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or emailing us at bffcpodcast@gmail.com. Best Friend Fight Club is a bi-weekly podcast about two friends, best friends, that I found meeting and kicking each other's ass in their pursuit of a meaningful life in the modern world. And of course, conversations about dicks. People dicks. I mean, people who are dicks. Dicks? No, whatever.